I'm honored to accept this leadership award, but all I can really say about leadership is that my own experience hasn't been terribly sophisticated or calculated. I've mostly been making it up as I go along and being absolutely without a map. But maplessness is a state I'm pretty comfortable in nowadays because while I don't have all the answers ahead of time, I do feel that I have the mental software to navigate the path ahead as it comes, even when it's sometimes dimly lit. And that's in large part from having been privileged enough to have exercised my own human right to education before and during the time that I've been advocating for the rights of Afghans to education. So this recognition from RRU is just really awesome and a major bonus to the rewards that I get to experience in the field all the time. Every time I see a class full of teachers graduate, every time I set foot in a classroom in Afghanistan, and every time I watch a class full of women fixated on learning their letters and numbers, it's very powerful fuel. And it's all I'll ever need to keep going. But by recognizing my work, you also recognize these people too, those I work for and with, the women and girls of Afghanistan, who do the real heavy lifting when it comes to making the right to learn a reality. It's been my great privilege to work alongside Afghan women and girls and to witness their courage, and to witness a country that just barely came back from the brink and what it's been through in the last decade. And it's hard to tell from here sometimes that things are actually getting better in Afghanistan. From women being part of the society again, just being visible, to them rejoining public life, to the more than 3 million girls that are back in school now in the public education system. And I want to share with you one of the most important lessons that I've learned there. I think that sometimes we in the West have a desire to preserve some exoticism in the world that makes us sometimes ignore the evidence, above all else, that we're human first, and that most societies hold more in common with each other than they hold apart, despite the distance between us. And so we can sometimes romanticize cultures outside our own, and in doing so, the bitter experiences that are poverty, hardship, oppression, gender inequality, and a denial of basic rights become quaint tribal characteristics rather than the horrors that they really are. And if we focus too much on the differences over the similarities, those voices in places far away from us are sometimes drowned out when they're telling us, perhaps inconveniently, I want the very same things that you do. There's a bad habit that's prevalent in some of the more privileged parts of the world of thinking of things like women's rights, like democracy and the freedoms that come with those things as our values, when in fact where the front line for those values are today, where people are literally dying for those values, is in places like Afghanistan, in Iran, in Syria, in Zimbabwe, in Yemen. And in our comfort here in Canada, in our freedom and in our privilege, we have occasionally forgotten that good governance, that rights were not given, they were taken. And now it's the turn of others to take theirs. So with this award, Royal Roads has expressed some agreement with me on this point, one that I live and breathe by, that human rights are universal and that they're blind to nationality, to ethnicity, to gender, to sexual orientation, to religion, and to culture. I think a good global citizen sees the whole world as their backyard, and an injustice anywhere takes place on our collective watch. So I commend Royal Roads on being a good global citizen, in the talk as well as in the walk. And I'd like to convey my gratitude for the opportunity to have studied on this beautiful campus, for the friendships I made here, and for this acknowledgement today. I'm truly humbled.